What guns should you craft and why? So in this video, we're going to go over all the different guns you can craft and what guns are worth crafting. So to begin, let's start with the broadside auto 5. So the broadside auto 5, the stock has high damage and the pristine has very high damage. Now, very high damage is good. That is 4 out of 5 for the damage stat. Excellent is 5 out of 5. So having second highest damage stat on a shotgun is quite good. It has 5 capacity, it individually reloads. This is definitely a gun that you want to run. It's objectively the best shotgun in terms of overall stats, aside from its per shot damage, which is only outclassed by the single shot, which has excellent damage. But this has follow-up shots, and it's just better in terms of like raw effectiveness. The damage difference between this and the single shot is largely negligible. So this is a definite upgrade, definite keep. The Easterly shotgun, the hunting shotgun, it's a side-by-side, it's a double barrel. It's good for early game. It goes from average damage to high damage. If you craft it, it's not really that much better. The high damage, low range, average accuracy, it ends up being bad at beyond point blank. So essentially it will one-shot headshot at point blank, but pretty much every gun in the game does that. So it actually kind of just sucks, and I don't recommend running it. I would literally save my shotgun ammo until I got a broadside, which you can get early if you just start attacking protocol bases in Skethermore. So I would just hold off for that and skip this one entirely. The Enfield LMG is very good. There is a stock Enfield LMG in the armory in the Skethermore base, which is difficult to get to. So I'm just going to point that out. Like you have to kind of fight your way or sneak your way there. But it goes from very high damage to excellent damage. It says low accuracy and high recoil, but if you just shoot individual shots, like if you don't go full auto, the recoil never matters, and the accuracy is good. Wherever the iron sights aim is where it hits, and it does seem to have far range as well. So it just generally is always good in one-shot headshots. So I think this is one of the best weapons in the game right now. It's arguably the best use of rifle ammo. Next, we have the Falkirk battle rifle that stays high damage. Weirdly, I'm not really seeing stat increase going from stock to pristine. I'm sure there is one. Maybe it's like bugged right now. It says it's a semi-automatic sniper rifle. So it says high damage, high rate of fire, high accuracy. I'm not really sure what accuracy means in this game because it doesn't really clearly... It doesn't seem to be weapon sway, and it doesn't seem to be aiming down sight. Maybe it's shooting from the hip. If that's the case, maybe there is a use case here. But this is just arguably worse than the Enfield LMG or the Bullpup, which we'll get to in a second. So you could craft this if you want to. It's serviceable. It has 3 out of 5 damage stat, but all the other rifles outclass it. Next, we have the high power. Now, the high power goes from average range, low recoil to high range, very low recoil. It also has a capacity of 13. This is a great sidearm if you don't like the revolver. It has high capacity, you can one-shot headshot humans, and it's just a generally decent use of pistol ammo. However, they are kind of hard to get, and 1911s and revolvers are way more common, so you might have to farm protocol for a while before you can get a pristine one. But it's decent. And also note that it is different from the 1911. Next, we have the JM3 Bullpup rifle. So this goes from high damage to very high damage. It also has high accuracy, very high rate of fire. A lot of people like this because it has what is essentially like an early hollow sight. It doesn't have a scope. It's not like a powered scope that has zoom, but it does have a pretty easy to read sight picture that is more or less a holographic 1x sight. So it's pretty nice for that. If you like that. I prefer the Enfield, but I also played Call of Duty 2 for years, so I'm used to the iron sights of a lot of these guns already. But if you prefer something more in line with like a modern firearm, this would be the go-to. It also has very high damage, so it is good. It's a pretty good gun. I would say it's up there. It's definitely a worthwhile investment if you like the sight on it. The 12 gauge shotgun single shot. So it goes from high damage to excellent. It actually skips very high, which is interesting. It says high range, average recoil. It still has big spread, and the spread contributes to the damage. So even though it says high range, I actually don't trust it. I haven't really noticed it killing accurately at range. So, and I've been like lining up shots and going for headshots. Like that's all I go for in this game. That's all you really should go for. So I do consider this to be quite bad, not really worth it. The Lee number 4, or just the Lee Enfield. The Lee Enfield goes from high damage to excellent damage on pristine, low rate of fire, very high accuracy. This, I would argue, is competitive with the LMG. You can top off, it can load 5 ammo. Like, you really, realistically, you need like 5 to 7 shots per gunfight if you're accurate. So having 5 loaded and being bolt action is fine, because usually you peek, you shoot, you peek, you shoot. So every time you like return to cover, you cycle the bolt and then peek again. So it being bolt action doesn't really hurt it. Now, it's not really the best thing at point blank, but you can still use it at point blank if you're accurate and you can time your shots well. Obviously, shotguns are better, or like the LMG is better. But it is a really good gun. It trains good habits. Like it's good to run early. I do recommend running it if you like bolt action and if you like being more distant and having a more sniper oriented style of play instead of like rushing in and trying to engage multiple enemies at like close to medium. It's better at medium to long, but it still can be used at close. Next we have the 1911. The 1911 I kind of just consider to be worse than the high power, but it is more common. It has 7 loaded. I think it needs a damage buff. I think it should be at very high damage. And maybe increase its range more just to make it a little bit more different from the high power. But essentially it's just worse than the high power in every way. It has more recoil and it has less loaded ammo. So it doesn't have any of the advantages of being a 1911, which is usually shooting 45 caliber, whereas the high power shoots a 9mm. And in real life, the 45 caliber is a larger bullet that has more stopping power. So it would make sense for this to be somewhere in between the revolver and the 9mm. I think that would be fine. It would make it stand out, but I don't think it's worth investing in right now unless you like it. The revolver is definitely worth investing in. One of the few weapons in the game with excellent damage, high range. You can ignore the low accuracy stat. Its accuracy when aiming is really good. It will easily kill things, so there's no reason not to craft it. But it goes from high to excellent damage. You can snipe with this thing if you can read the iron sights, and by that I mean like line them up with like a small silhouette of an enemy's head. It has the best irons on all of the pistols because they're narrow, and the point of impact is a little bit above like the post part of the irons, like it sticks above it a little bit, so you can actually see more when you're aiming down sight. Whereas with the other pistols, they have more blocky irons that obstruct your view. Because the pistol itself is also a little bit thinner, it generally obstructs less of your vision of the target. So it has better sniping, better per shot damage. It's the highest ammo efficiency pistol in the game. It's just better against ferals, against thralls, and against the bard robots, as well as the turrets. The Peerless SMG goes from low range to high range. It has average recoil and high damage. I do consider this to be the best SMG. There's only 2. Its iron sights are better, and that does matter. The Sten irons are kind of terrible, and they obstruct a lot of your vision. So if you're going for headshots beyond close range, it's just really difficult to land them. But with the Peerless, it actually has decent irons that are similar to like the Lee Enfield and the Enfield LMG, where it has space in between the posts, so you can actually see your target better. So the high range now matters because you can actually make out your target and hit it. The Sten goes from low range to high range. So the Sten, these are almost identical, right? Average recoil, low recoil, high range, high damage, high range, high damage. The recoil in this doesn't matter because you're shooting individual shots. The recoil in this is low. This is really good at close range, but beyond close range, I find its irons hard to aim. They're just bulky and hard to read, so I don't really recommend taking it beyond close range. But it is good at close range. It has 32 loaded. The Peerless, I can't remember off the top of my head what it has loaded, but I think it's less than 32. But I consider the Peerless better. The Sten you can run if you just want a close range SMG for DPSing robots or DPSing, ferals or thralls, but make sure you still time your shots and go for headshots only for everything. Don't go for body shots unless you have to and you're in a panic and you're about to die or something and there's no other option. But I do consider this to be worse than the Peerless, but it's still fine. It's still serviceable. It's still good. It's still a good SMG if you only want to use it at close, but if you want to take it out to range, Peerless is much better. And then finally we have the 22. The 22 has low damage, and then it just increases the range or the accuracy from high to excellent, or I'm sorry, from high to excellent accuracy. I haven't really noticed the accuracy difference between weapons. Maybe it's at extremes. Unfortunately, the 22, because it's single shot, it uses rifle ammo, and its damage is low. It's just significantly worse than every other rifle in the game. It can still one-shot headshot humans, though, funny enough. But if you miss the shot, you have to reload a new round. Like, you can't just, like, cycle the bullets or just shoot another shot because your gun is semi-automatic or automatic. So if you miss a shot, it's painful. Other things do more per shot damage. Other things have higher capacity. The Lee Enfield just outclasses this objectively in every way. There's really no reason to run this at all. If it had super cheap common ammo that was like 22 ammo and then there's rifle ammo, we might have a discussion there, because then it could be like an efficiency weapon where you like pick off, you know, small groups of enemies from far away or something. But unfortunately, there's really no reason to use this at all. And you can actually get an Enfield around the time you can get this from the same types of enemies that drop this. So it's basically just junk. I would never invest in this. You can run this for a challenge run, but that's about it. So yeah, that's it for my upgrade guide. Some of the weapons are better than others in terms of raw stats, and then for rifles, it's really your preference. Pretty much all the rifles except for the 22 are viable to beat the game on veteran mode, so it's really up to you. You can go for aesthetic, you can go for optics, or the iron sight picture, the way the gun sounds doesn't really matter. But obviously the Enfield LMG and the Lee Enfield have the highest damage of excellence, and then the bullpup is very high. So the bullpup, I would say, is competitive with them. The very high, so the damage difference of very high versus excellent, you will only notice against thralls, ferals, robots, and turrets. But you do encounter and fight those a lot. So it's not like you can throw out that relevant factor. It's like, oh, well, like you're mostly fighting humans, but you do fight those a lot. So that the maximum damage does matter. All right, definitely like and subscribe if you found this useful. And also feel free to drop comments if you agree or disagree with any of my assessments. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.